Hello ladies and gents, and welcome back to another fabulous week of English 235. I see that you've submitted your definitions assignment. Bravo. I've taken a look at some of them and we are off to a pretty good start overall, so that is very exciting. What we are working on this week is going to be abstract and summary. So you'll see throughout the week you're going to be reading some of our excellent Markle text, particularly abstract and newsletter articles. He's got some great examples in the textbook, as well as a really solid overview of the purpose of this kind of writing, as well as different ways that you might be able to apply it in the future. So really helpful not only to see how to do it, but why to do it. And then we're going to be writing our abstract and our newsletter article. You're going to be working from a couple different sources on this, so I want to take a moment to just pop into the assignment and give you kind of a rundown on what we're going to be working on. Excuse me. The cold is going around our house. Yay. It's not COVID though. I know, because we got tested. Just a cold. So the abstract and newsletter article assignment is your next major one. Once again, worth 100 points. So worth doing because it all works toward that final grade you get. So this assignment has two parts. We've got, once again, another external link to a website that a fabulous professor named Bob Peterson and I worked together to create just as additional resources for the class. So if you take a look through the abstracts, we break them down into a pretty manageable kind of format. You'll see that I've got these color-coded for you. So if you take a look at an abstract, which is a very short piece of writing that's representative of a much larger piece. So if you've got a 20-page article, you'll have a paragraph-long abstract in most academic journals that tells you kind of its main points before you get in and read the whole thing. Abstracts are useful in academic contexts like research journals. It's also helpful in some other business contexts as well. For example, when I worked as a technical editor, I had to write a lot of abstracts for my supervisor because she was very interested in staying up on the latest and greatest in what people were doing in the field, but she didn't want to read everything. And since I was a lowly peon, I got to read everything and then send her abstracts of all of the information. So you may end up finding yourself doing something like that once you get into your career field. Something that takes place in real estate, if you have to talk about all the features of a house and boil it down to just a few words on a flyer. It takes place in a lot of scientific communities, a lot of technical communities. So a really helpful skill to have as you're moving forward. So we've got this broken down for you here, color-coded, so that you can see the topic and hypothesis, the methods, the results, and our conclusions in a couple different forms. So I didn't want to give you just one example. You've got multiple ones. So you can take a look at those as you structure your own abstract here. You'll also see there's a lot of pages to flip through. I wanted to make sure you had a lot of stuff. So here are some exercises, some practice for you to do so that you can get better at this whole process. It's not required, just things that you can do to help you get better. So that's all available for you there as you work on the abstract. The abstract is working with an article called Eyeing Myopia, which I think is really interesting, particularly in this current day and age where we are doing so much work on computers because everything's online and we're Zooming and learning online, and lots of us are working online. And when we're not working, we're looking at our phones or, stuff like that. We spend a lot of time with screens these days. As you can tell from my very fancy blue light glasses, we're all trying to find ways to make working with screens a little more palatable. So this article is very interesting because it posits that our eyes can change shape depending on how we use them. In past centuries, we spent a lot more time outside and we had to use our peripheral vision a lot more. Now we spend a lot more time focused in short distances. And so these researchers are arguing that our eyes are slowly changing shape, which is making us a little bit more myopic, which is very interesting. They did a really cool experiment with little baby chickens, little chicks. They put some blinders on them. It's cool. You can read about it. So you'll be writing your abstract on this topic. Really, really interesting research to summarize and write on. Hopefully you find it interesting too. And it is 100-word limit. That might seem crazy, but you really have to boil it down to its most essential bits. And you'll see that in the modules when we get there. I've got some tips on how to do that. Then you're going to write an article for a company newsletter. And this is your chance to be a bit creative, put on your imagination hat or whatever you want to call it, and do just a tiny bit of creative thinking. And so this is a rhetorical scenario. That means imagine you're in this scenario. You're the assistant communications manager in a leading software development company. Part of your job involves publishing a monthly newsletter for employees. This may seem outrageous, but you would not believe what folks will ask you to do sometimes in a job that's not at all part of your job description. So you may be asked to write a newsletter. Who knows? You might just get on somebody's bad side or on their good side, and they think it's a reward. Who knows? But a good skill to have, because oftentimes things that are not listed in the job specifically, all those above and beyond kind of things, are the things that get you recognized, the things that might work toward promotion, the things that set you apart from the crowd. So being able to contribute in this way might be valuable. So in this particular assignment, you are going to be responding to an article called Workplace Differences Are Often Just a Matter of Style. And in that article, it talks quite a bit about different ways people learn and different ways people communicate and how that might affect your ability to get along with them in the workplace. So really interesting article talking about auditory learners, visual learners, kinesthetic learners, and how all of these different people types try and communicate ideas, and then how to respond, how to listen, and how to communicate back with them. So really, really cool stuff. Once again, scientifically based articles to help you as we move forward. This newsletter should not exceed 250 words. Newsletters oftentimes have a very specific amount of space they're able to work in. And so word limits are especially important there. If you're trying to send out a company newsletter, you want it to be 1 page long. You've got 3 different people who are contributing to it, and you have to make copies for 1,000 people. You don't want that bumping over onto a second page, right? So make sure that we're committing to that word limit and following those expectations there. You do want to acknowledge the authors at least once. I'm going to ask that you acknowledge them really only once or twice, because if you keep putting their names in the article title over and over and over again, you're going to hit that 250 words before you even get to say anything about the article. So introduce them once at the beginning, and you should be good to go. And then I've got some tips for you here on how to adapt an article for a newsletter. Take a look at those. You do want to make sure that your summary can stand as an independent, coherent, and concise version of the original article. We do have some help for you as you get into this. Both Markle's readings and our modules tab support you here. So the abstract and article here, I've got a recorded lecture in the PowerPoint form. I'll upload this as a YouTube video for those of you who are struggling with permissions issues. This just talks about abstracts and summaries, their purpose, and how to do them well. If you want to get some practice with this, you can challenge yourself by reading this great article called Is Google Making Us Stupid? And then trying to write your own abstract about it. Really interesting article that's questioning whether our brains are changing because we can just use search engines instead of having to hunt down information ourselves. Here's the prompt if you want it in a Word doc format. A nice recorded lecture specifically focusing on newsletters. It's got some examples of bad newsletters, which are fun. And then we've got our article linked here. I have some samples linked here for you. So you've got a lot of options to help support your learning as we move into this module. So that's pretty much it for this week, guys. Lots of fun things to work on, a little chance to be creative as you work on the newsletter article. If you have any questions as we're moving forward, please just let me know. I'm here to help. Like I've said in past videos, normally I'm checking my emails after 3 p.m. Until bedtime because that's when I have help taking care of the children. So let me know if you have questions. I want to help you out. I'm here to help you out. It is not at all a bother for you to send me a question because it's my job and I love my job and I love supporting your learning. So have a great week, guys. Let me know if you have questions and I look forward to reading what you got.